So let me just go over these toolbars down here, down the side, and we'll kind of go over the screen, and then I'll flip over to the GM side, and I'll show you some functions from there. In the meantime, feel free to post any questions you have in the chat, and I will, when it comes to like a natural pausing place between sections, I'll check out what's in the chat there, and I'll answer any outstanding questions. So let's begin. So this is our ship. This is a standard Type S scout ship from Traveller, and we have our 3D model here, or our map rather. It's not really a 3D model. We don't have an air car, so we're using this weird kind of vehicle that we got off the internet. That's one of the cool things that you can do with Roll20 is pull in graphics of your own or graphics from around the internet. So there's that. Anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. Let me go down the side here and just give you an overview of these different tools, and I'll show you how they work. So the first thing is obviously there's the pointer, and you can use it to select and move things or to pan the view. So I'm just going to go to the select and move. That's the default. And here's my character right here. So I can grab him and move him. And you can grab, here's an air mattress. So there's interactive scenery, right? Here's a, let's see, the couch. We can move the couch. Anything that you want to move, or that you have the right, you can select things, but if you don't have the rights to move them, you won't be able to move them. So let's see. If you want to move something, you just click it and you drag it. Okay. Now, you can also pan the view. So let's say you want to move your screen around. So you just click and drag with this hand, and now we can look around the ship a little bit, see some of the other rooms. If you now this is only affecting the view of the player. I'm logged on as the player in the screen right now, and so as the player, I only have limited things that I can do. It's quite a bit of things, but the GM side has a lot more stuff. So when I'm doing this, I'm panning my own view. I'm not panning the view of anybody else.
Fraz?
Yes?
So one thing I just wanted to add for everyone is if you're on the pointer, you can also right-click to just automatically switch to the pan view to drag things and move it.
That's right. You can right-click and just moving stuff. I'm moving the whole screen. And the other mouse control is the scroll key. So I have this set to scroll up and down, and left and right if you hold down the shift key. Now, if you want to zoom in or zoom out, you got the zoomer tool here. So I'm zooming in and zooming out. You can also grab the slider directly. And if you want to get rid of this over here, you can click on the number and it'll collapse the zoomer down. So that's kind of nice. So getting back to the toolbars over here, this next one down is if you want to draw things on the map. Maybe you're the DM and you want to draw a wall or something. So you can come into here and you choose draw shape, and you got your color, your fill, and your outline. So I'm just going to choose like black, and you see I can lay down a red box. Let's get into this color. Let's change it to no outline and just a colored box on the inside. See. Now, what do you do if you want to get rid of these things? Well, you just go back to your selector, and you can light them up, and then hit the delete key and get rid of them. You'll notice when I hover, I've got this other little sidebar fly out there that says draw a rectangle, hold Alt for circle, and Shift to snap to the grid. So if I want to draw a circle, I just hold the Alt key. Whoops. Sorry, I need to choose the tool first. There you go. There's a circle. The default is square or rectangle. Now, what if I want to select both of these things and delete them at the same time? It's just the standard arrow move and select. You can box them up like that, and you can delete them. Now, what happens if I draw something and I want to rotate it? Okay, let's go back to the selector here. You'll notice this little handle right here that's popped up to the top. You can grab that and just rotate. So you can put things to any position you like. And now the map sometimes snaps. So if you want to not snap, hold down the Alt key when you're repositioning, and you can move things to any position on the map without the snap. You can do the rotating. And this works on all the icons. Let's see, I have to zoom that up a little bit so the handle is visible. Let's see, I can, come on now. There, yeah. I can turn my character, but see it snaps. So if I don't want it to snap, just hold the Alt down and, oops, wrong guy. There. And again, just select the thing and delete it if you want it to go away. Alrighty, so now the next tool down under shapes is freehand. So that's just what it says. You can click on that and then draw directly on the map. You'll see some things moving around. One of the other players is moving their characters, making him take a nap on the couch over there. Okay, so the freehand, just useful for drawing stuff. You know, the enemy's coming down the hallway like this, and we want to, let's see, we're going to come up the hallway like this. So you can draw right on there like a dry erase board, and then when you want to get rid of the arrows, just select them and delete them. Let's see, the polygon and line tool allows you to draw lines, connected lines. If you want to close the loop there when you're connecting, just hit enter. Whoops, I lied. I'm making a mess. Let me clear some of this stuff out. All right. The cool thing is when you hover, it tells you how to do it. So you can shift to snap to the grid, Control Z to undo the last point, or right click or escape to complete. So, and I think it does not autocomplete. Let's give that a experiment here, and then I hit escape, and now it's just a multi-point object, and I can move it and turn it, and also resize it. You can grab it in the corners there and get these objects resized. Let's see. And then, of course, there's text. So if you want to put a note on the map, you click text, and then you can just click right here. I move here, or whatever you want to, maybe you want to name something on the map. Research 20% complete, and then whoops, and then like put this over here next to the computers, so you know the research we're doing is 20% complete, and we'll come back and update that throughout the game as the computer progresses through the research program. So there's the second tool. Now this one is pretty self-explanatory. It's the little magnifying glass, and these are all the different zoom levels. So you got zoom out and zoom in all the way. All right, and then again, you can control it from over here as well. So you have a couple of different ways of doing any given thing. Just use whichever way you like. The next thing down is this measurement tool. Now, the measurement tool is super cool for trying to figure out the range between you and something else. Now, Looks like when I set this up, I set it up for feet by accident, but this could be reading out in meters just as easily. In fact, now might be a good time to switch over to the GM screen, and I'll show you how to change something on the GM view. Okay, so I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go to, let's see, these are all the different maps. What was I trying to demonstrate? I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, the scale. All right, so that's configurable on a per page basis. This is the page we're on, and so I'm going to go down here and see one grid is 5 feet. So I'm going to change this. In Traveller, we do 1.5 meters. Okay, so now when I flip back to the player screen, I should get meters. All right. So now this measurement tool is pretty slick, but what if you want to measure, like, if maybe I want to go around and go through this door and go talk to this guy, and I want to know how far that is. So what you do is you drag your arrow, and then you press the Q key, and that lays down like a waypoint. And then you go to the other place, and you press the Q key again, and that lays down another waypoint. So you can measure out how, like, let's say I wanted to go up. Let's say this is my room up here, and I want to go up to my room, or maybe I know there's we're being boarded, and I want to run back to my room and get my gun, and I can only move so many squares, so I want to count out how many there are. So I'm gonna just go right here to my door, Q, and then go into here, Q again, and then to my desk. So it looks like 12 meters total. So that's a pretty handy little tool right there. Anyway, before I move on to the next tool, just wanted to stop and say, hope you like what we're doing here. And me and my group have found Roll20 to be a great tool. My players are all around the world. I got a guy in Australia. We got some people up in Canada. We've got some players on some of my other crews that are from Germany and England. So it's a great way to connect people all over the world, even before virus infections and things like that. So if there's any question, anything where you've gotten to Roll20 and you got stuck, just put it down there in the chat, and I'm gonna pop back to that chat every now and then and check for questions, and I'll answer them as we go along. So now we're going to move on to the next tool. Again, we're on the player's view. So the next tool that looks like a die, this is actually the dice rolling tool, and it has a nice advanced feature, which I'll show you in a second. But this is where you can just dial up what kind of dice you want, kind of in a shortcut way. There's other ways of rolling dice, you can roll a handful of dice or one die. You can even have custom dice that are odd number of sides, like a 3-sider or a 7-sider. So that's all done in a different box, but I just wanted to show you there goes somebody rolling one of the he just did a 2d6 down there, and we're going to get to that in a second because there's actually a lot of detail in that die roll display there. So you can go here to whichever. For Traveller we rolled 2d6, so I'm going to go here to 2, and I'm going to click 2d6. All right, and if you have the you don't have to turn on the 3D dice. You can have that turned off. I think it's turned off by default. So you'll have to turn that on under settings, and we'll get to that when we get to that side of the screen. But anyway, you can go through here if you're playing D&D. You got your 2d8, 3d8, whatever you want. You can just roll a single d6 or a d4. So it's pretty slick. Here's a percentile. And then you'll notice on this side of the screen, this is the chat window. It's giving us a running total of everything that anybody ever did and said or rolled or whatever. So here's some rolls from the previous game where the characters were doing some different things, scanning and flying and shooting and stuff like that. So we'll get to this side of the screen in a second. I see in the chat, how did you access the GM's view? I actually have a player's view and a GM's view loaded in two different browsers, and I'm popping back and forth between them. But if you have an account and you start a new game, you can lay out your own game, and then you view it as the GM, and then anybody you invite to it views it from the player standpoint. So we're going to get to the GM view here in a minute. Let's go down to the I want to talk about private dice rolls. Maybe the GM tells you, or you tell the GM, I want to try to pickpocket my teammate or something. Something sneaky that you don't want anybody else to know about. And the GM will say, okay, make a secret roll on your deception check or whatever. So you would come over here and you click GM, and then you roll your 2d6, and then what happens is this roll that comes up, you're sharing just between you and the GM. None of the other players logged on saw that roll. So this is a way to have private rolls between you and the GM. Or if the GM wants to go the other direction, he can do a private roll and as you, and then you can see it. So you can do things as your players. It's kind of cool. Down here is the advanced dice roller. Oh, yeah, the 3D dice is a local function, so you don't have to have it turned on if you don't want. I had it on for demonstration purposes, but it's turned on by on a per player basis. So the GM turns his on, you turn yours on. If Hex or Ian want theirs turned on their client, then they can turn it on from their own control panel. The next thing down here is the help and dot. Oh wait, no. I want to go down here to the advanced dice roller. Okay, so right, the advanced dice roller is pretty slick. It's got all the basic rolls, but then you can also do other things like, okay, in Traveller we do 2d6, and let's say we're shooting a laser, 3d6. It's a laser pistol, plus 3. You'll see over here, it rolled 3d6 and added 3. And there's our total. There's some other options in here. You can have target numbers if you're playing Shadowrun. You can have exploding dice, which are for different kinds of game systems. And then it keeps track of your last 10 rolls down here. So you can go back, and there's a way to put in a notation. They have a really advanced dice language. You can say like, you can build a roll that's like, roll 3d6 to drop the lowest, things like that, or keep the 3 highest, or roll 4d6, keep the 3 highest. So there's different kinds of formulas you can punch in like that. And then down here in the little help area, you get these nice wiki. So that's kind of nice. Let's see. That it opened in its own window there. So, all right. So over here on this side, the left side, we got. Oh, let me before we go, we're gonna go kind of anti-clockwise around the screen here. Down here's the list of players. Here's the GM, and then these are all the different players. This is my character Murphy. So when I roll the dice, you'll notice I get yellow dice. If Ian rolls the dice, we'll get that color. Ian, would you roll your dice? How come I'm not? There might be a slight delay, or let's see. There's a lot of people.
Not sure. I just made a roll there.
Yeah. Normally it would be rolling for everybody. It might be because of the browser I'm in or something. But if you have the 3D dice on, you would normally see colored dice falling for all the different players according to their color down here. And that's one more thing with the arrow back to here to the selector. When you have that on and you hold down your mouse button, you make like a ping. And that ping is colored according to your character. So if you say, I want to move over here, or take your attention over here, that's how you do it. You just hold down the left mouse button. There's a question in the chat. Can you save dice roll settings like a hotkey? Yes, you can make macros and make macro buttons down here. Like if let's say you make a macro for a laser gun, and you can set it to whoever clicks it. It goes to their character sheet, gets their laser pistol skill, and adds in their dex modifier, and then rolls and gives you the result. Super psycho awesome. Takes all the accounting out, and once the character sheets and stuff are set up, and they're publicly made character sheets, but they're pretty decent, and they're on Git, so anybody who wants to go in and improve them can do so. They're kind of tricky. You need some CSS and HTML knowledge, but the ones that are out there publicly are decent enough, and we'll get into that in just a second when I roll around to this other side. We'll look at the character sheets. So that's pretty much it for the bottom. The next thing is here's the chat bar. Now you switch between these different. You can collapse this down, by the way, if you don't want that toolbar. Let's bring it back. You hit this little hamburger menu. So if you want to say anything, you can just type it in down here, and it'll pop up with your identifier and say hello. You can also speak as anybody that you have access to. So in my game, the players have allowed each other to look at each other's character sheets, and so that's why I can look at and talk as any of these people. But normally you only would be talking as yourself. When you're on the DM side, you can talk as any of the characters or NPCs or anybody who you've made a character sheet for in your journal. So Will says good day. Ian's typing. He says greetings. So one cool thing is you can get up into your settings, and I'll show you how, and you can change your name down here to match your character. So everybody here is from our side gaming group, and these are all our Discord handles pretty much. So that's why these guys don't have their names necessarily matching their character's name, but they can change that up there through the options if they want. Yes. Hello. Oh, good of you to join us, Card. I don't know if he's actually joining us or if somebody else is. Yeah, it looks like they're typing as each other, so that could be a problem, right? But yeah. All right, let's move on to the next thing. So type down here. You've got your running log of everything that's been typed, and when somebody rolls a roll, you can see Ian rolled his advocate check, for instance. It's pretty cool. We'll get to that in a sec. Going up here, you've got your chat, you've got your journal. Okay, now in here, this is all the stuff that the GM is sharing with the players. So we have different journals. Under players, there's an entry for each of the players. Now everybody has their own character sheet and a notebook that they can type in. I can't see these other guys' notebooks, but I can see what's public on their character sheets. So here's Ricard's character sheet. Here's Briscoe's. It's got a lot of stuff. There's a character sheet. We'll get into this stuff in a second here. Anyway, it's nice to kind of have a notebook that you can type in. So everybody gets a little notebook they can go and edit, and they can keep notes. Today I met the Emperor. It's got a nice little WYSIWYG text editor here. Play by post. There's a question in the chat about play by post. I suppose you could do that because the chat here records everything, so everybody could come in, log in, type your move. If there's a roll, it's recorded. So I think it could adapt. Somebody who's more familiar with play by post and Roll20 would probably give you a better answer, but I think it's doable. From what I understand by play by post, this would be good since it's got the running chat. Everything's recorded. You can leave and come back, and the stuff will still be here unless it's cleared. So yeah, I think you could do play by post. So let's go back to the journal.
Fraz, I want to jump in on real quick on that play by post. You've already mentioned it. Your biggest issue is going to be your chat window log. So if I make a move and then Monk makes a move and then Gomos makes a move, you make a move, my move could roll off the screen and be lost. So that's the only concern.
But you could scroll up to it, wouldn't? Is that?
Yeah. There is so there is an option to basically look at your entire log.
Okay, there's a longer chat log.
Yeah, okay. In fact, you can look at it from outside the game. You don't even have to log into the game.
Okay.
Chat log.
Okay.
Yeah, we have 51 pages in our game log.
Okay, I didn't see that.
It's a lot.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's awesome. Okay, so go ahead.
No, I was going to say, a side note, you know how we were using other people's characters to talk with?
Yes.
And you mentioned we can look at other people's character sheets.
Right.
A concern to be aware of is player A changing player B's sheet.
Yes. If you can allow people to view character sheets or edit the character sheets. And my players trust each other enough to not mess with each other's sheets, but if they can edit, then they can edit, and so they can get in there and start messing with each other's sheets. So be very careful with that. It's better just to, in my opinion, for everybody to be in control of their own sheet, and then whatever they want to share, they can share when they want to, or put out on their bio, which is publicly viewable by anybody that's allowed to view their sheet. So that's why, like here, when I look at Ricard, he hasn't filled out anything for his bio yet. But Crow has. Here's where he was born, his character backstory. We went through and did a little bit of character development. So, are your parents still alive? Do you have relatives? Like that. This is probably a good time to look at the character sheets. Let me open that all up there. So this is something one of the players typed in, and let's pop over to the character sheet tab. So you have these little sub tabs here.
He's using this as a reminder to finish filling.
Yeah, I'm embarrassing them from it's been a year and they still have half of them empty. All right. So here we have Admiral Crow. He's 46. He's Soleimani. You can fill in some recent history if you have contacts and enemies. Here's criminal for the mutiny, sabotage, smuggling, and conspiracy, betrayer. So some of these are from the events created when you rolled up his character. Let's see. The next thing over still on this tab is skills. So up here at the top is this thing you can turn on and off, and it gives you like the skill list. So you can turn this up here controls what skills are listed down here. So let's just collapse that. Okay, so we'll see here. He's got advocate, athletics, and then over here is the skill level. And then over here is the total. So you can see like he's really strong in astrogation, deception, and diplomat. Players will die before they finish their sheets. In Classic Traveller, yeah, but in the Mongoose Traveller, they have awesome um, life events and stuff. You can still die. It's just super rare. Anyway, so this guy he's got a lot of skills. This skill right here is an untrained skill. So in Traveller, if you're untrained at something, you're at a -3. So it already knows that because of what you've checked off here. So here's stealth. It's dexterity based. He's got a 1 modifier on his dex. So with the -3, he's got a -2 when he does this. So if he rolls a stealth, let me switch over here to the chat. If you want to roll stealth, you just click the name. Might be having some lag because there's a lot of people are getting on Roll20. Crow, would you roll your own stealth, if you will? There you go. All right, so he clicked the button and the stealth roll happened. And if you look over here, you can put your arrow on the number, and it gives you a little explosion explaining the what happened with the die roll. So for stealth, he's at a 2d6 with a total of -2 and no additional modifiers. So that he rolled a 4 and a 2. -2 is 4. So
And
go on.
just one thing for our contestants at home. So one of the things that you have to be aware of with Roll20 is when you click on a skill, like I did, it will pop up a modifier window where and you couldn't see that because I was rolling the skill, where you may have a modifier because the game master has said, hey, you've got a +2 modifier because of whatever conditions, and then you can enter that there.
Good point. And actually, that's what just happened to me when I rolled for
and
it. Look.
That is why you couldn't roll mine.
If you click the skill and nothing appears to happen, it's because this input modifier is behind a window or something. These windows, by the way, are breakoutable with this little. You can pop them up here. Now I can move this off the screen onto another side screen or bring it back. Anyway, it's possible for this input value to get behind. Now it wants a modifier for your roll. Like if I said, roll your stealth, but there was a guard, so you're going to be at another -2. He would put -2 in here. Click submit, and then the die should roll. There we go. Oh my God, I rolled a 2. Okay, so how did I roll a 2? I look here, and I see I rolled a 1 and a 5. There was -2 for being untrained, and but +1 because of my dex. So that's that first -2, and then that last -2 is the -2 modifier the GM just gave me. Thanks, GM. So yeah, that's one way. I'm going to go here to Murphy because I don't want to mess up anybody's character. Go here to skills. Now Murphy's the engineer, and he has some nice engineer skills, but I just threw this together as an example. But he doesn't have gun combat, so I left that untrained. Don't forget to click this little box if the skill is actually trained. They should have made that the default and had it had you set it the opposite for skills that you're untrained at, because you're going to normally be filling this with skills that you are trained at. So that should be the default. So there's like weird little things like that in these character sheets because they're just made by other hobbyists. So can't really complain too much. There's some other quirks on here that we'll get to in a minute. So on skills that are like electronics that have specialties, you can hit this little thing right here and add additional skills. So or cascading skills. So jump drive, M drive. For instance, make it look however you want. It doesn't matter what you put in there because you're it's just a texting it. You're referencing yourself. You put in what level it's at, and then you'll get a total over here. And normally, when you roll engineer, it's going to be your education. But let's say this engineer wants to try something new. He wants to build some sort of contraption that's going to make the engines more efficient. So in that case, I would say roll engineer, but roll it under intellect. So you come here and you switch it to intellect, and then you roll engineer. Your modifier pops up. No modifier for this. Okay, so here's the engineer. I got a 5 plus a 2. That's 7. So sometimes you might get a glitch in here, like if the number is like maybe I don't know, a negative, or if it's too big to fit in this little box. Sometimes you'll get like a 0 in there. Just hover your cursor over there, and you'll get the actual readout of the die, so you can calculate it in your head. Now, if there's a skill that you have in your game that is a homebrew skill, you can add them down here. I don't know, brewing. Let's see, education, and 1, and he's trained. All right. So you can do different kinds of things like that. My players, you'll see, are they have a still in their cargo bay, and they are trying to make money with a distillery in their cargo bay. They go to planet to planet. They buy cheap fruit. They ferment it and distill it, and then they sell it as fancy schmancy liquor at their destination.
Don't give away our secrets.
So the next, let's go. That's pretty much it for the skills tab. Remember that this is how you pop open and shut this little collapser if you want to add additional, like if I want to add a gambler. So you just added it. So gambler, I don't know, social 1, and he's trained. So don't forget that little training thing. And then most people leave this open. I like to shut it down. Oh, there's also, you can like just show me all the combat skills, or none of this, just the combat ones. You see it's messing this up down here. But so be careful what you choose up here with these two guys. You can accidentally wipe out all your skills. So be careful of these 2 buttons right here. Let's go over to the next tab. All right, this is the inventory and equipment tab, and you put in all your stuff here. You just add another line, and each line has room for 2 pieces of gear. So you can just fill it in here, and if it takes the quantity and the kilograms and adds it all up and gives you total gear weight over here. Down here you have your finances. So in Traveller, if you've went 5 years in a career, you get a pension. 5 terms, you get a pension, and so you could record that here. And if you have any debt or whatever, ship payments, other wealth, if you have property or whatever, you can add that in here. I have property worth 1 million credits on this planet. So that's super helpful. Alrighty. The next tab is the combat tab, and this is where you'll be popping in and out of a lot. There's room up here for your armor. This guy is wearing they work for a company called Stellaris. Stellaris gives you some decent tech level 10 cloth armor as your uniform, and so I've laid that out here. And then he also has a laser pistol. There is not a GM recover function if they delete info. However, you can make periodic backups of you can make copies of the game. So if you're in a situation where you're worried about that, maybe after every game you can make a copy of the current state and then keep it on a rotation. So you, like, if you have, don't keep more than one backup, I guess, delete the other ones. Roll20 gives you a fixed amount of space, but it's a generous amount. I haven't ever had to back anything up. Everybody pretty much knows what their characters are, and although it might be a good idea to take all your your character card from Traveller and record it like in your bio, in your own bio, and then that way, if something happens on the character sheet page, in here you can go back to your default numbers. That is a problem. That's a problem across all of the things. But as the GM, you can make copies of games. You can make copies of character sheets. You can move characters from game to game or module to module. We're actually almost done with the player side, so we'll pop over to the GM side here in a sec. Let's see. Oh, roll initiative. This is kind of cool. When I move to the let me see if actually is now a good time to talk about this. Well, there's an initiative tracker. Let's just talk about it since we're here. I'm not going to show it to you because I got to pop over to the DM side and kind of coordinate it. But what you do is you select your token on the map, then you come here and then you click roll initiative, and it puts everybody in everybody rolls initiative, and it puts them on an initiative tracker, and then you can sort it by you want the fastest guy on top, for instance. It looks like people are going ahead and doing that. I'll go ahead and do that too. Okay.
And it's worth.
I forgot to select.
It's worth reinforcing. You have to select your token first.
Right. If you don't, you get this little error right here. So make sure you select your token, then go into your character sheet. Roll your initiative. Okay, now the thing is I'm not sure if I had to set that on the GM side. I'm going to pop into the GM side on my other screen. And I'm going to see if I can turn on the turn tracker. There it is. All right. So let's see. Let me clear this little tool here. Remove all turns. Clear it. All right. Everybody, go ahead and roll your initiative again.
Gladly, mine was terrible.
Okay. Okay, so now you'll see it's put us all on here, but not necessarily in order. And when I move up and down this list, the different characters are getting highlighted. So if there's monsters or whatever, you can kind of see where they are on the map. Let me switch over to the GM side here. So on the GM view, you have this turn order tool, and then you can go under here and do them descending. All right, so Murphy goes first. When Murphy's done, you cancel him out of the turn order. Then Crow goes, and then you cancel him out of the turn order. And then Chief Inspector Briscoe goes, and then Gomos goes. And then you roll again. And so this is a nice little handy tool to keep track of turn order. All right, if there's any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat there, and I'll answer them as I can. The next thing we're going to look at is let's revisit the journal here real fast. As the GM, this is the I don't want to quite get to the GM stuff. I'll just use that, keep that as a teaser. We'll go back to the player side here. Okay, so another cool thing is you have these kind of like any list of monsters like that you've encountered. The GM can make them available like a bestiary. If you meet any NPCs along the way. You can make little um, folders and put them in there. So here's like all the people that they met on a medieval world, for instance. Here's the list of the other players. Here's a handouts. These are all the different kinds of handouts. So we have news feeds. This is their ship, and so like here's their character sheet for their ship. Why is descending ordered the default? Because I think you want to roll high in this version of Traveller. So the person with the highest initiative roll gets to go first. But since you have the initiative, it is the default. Well, I mean, I don't know if you can set it to automatically do that for you. The other thing is you can, as a GM, you can grab people and put them in order, just by sliding them. There's probably is a way to set it by default. I just don't know off the top of my head. I will look that up and try to answer that in the description after the video is posted up to the web later. So here's their ship. I can click on it to get a better view. They have some stuff in their ship's locker there. Here's another view. On this is kind of cool. On this character sheet, I made some programs here so you can automatically calculate transit time. So if you're going to go 1,000 kilometers, tells you here how long it's going to take. So it's kind of cool. You can get into here and put any kind of notes you want. So there's the character sheets for the ship. Let's see what else. Player. Oh, we have the. I made an encyclopedia for them, so they have all the races they run into. There's a glossary of terms. This is the our subsector map. So that's kind of cool. And then we have all of the different systems laid out here. So if they want to, look up any planet, there's all the details of the planet. And now this, of course, is all the stuff. This is the player-facing stuff. The GM sees all of this, plus has a section for GM notes. So if you want to say, this is a pirate base, or this is the planet where the ancients hide their treasures, or whatever, you can have that in a hidden note that's only shown on the GM side. Let's see. And then there's some notes. The next thing over here, you can there's a jukebox. The GM can put music in here for if you want to have background music for a scene, or maybe you want to have sound effects. If they're in the jungle, you want to have jungle sound effects. If you're on the tundra, maybe you want wind. There's a question about posting later to the channel. Yes, I think now this is my only second time running a live stream on YouTube, so I think it's recording me. If not, I'm making a secondary recording, and I will upload it when I'm done, along with the answers to any questions that I couldn't answer, because I'm not a super genius about Roll20, but I have been using it a while, and I think I can give people some basic tips anyway. So if anybody has any other questions, pop them down there in the chat. I see it in the sidebar over there, and I keep referring back to it. Let's see, there's some other things up here. Oh yeah, so if there was any music playing, the titles would be showing here. The players can't control the music. Here's where you can set up and run macros. So I mentioned earlier, maybe there's a role that you do all the time, like everybody does brewing, or everybody does, I don't know, shoots a laser pistol. So you can make these little macros across the bottom that are buttons, and everybody sees them. And then when they want to shoot a laser, I'm going to be implementing this for my game actually. If they want to shoot the laser, rather than going to their character sheet and dialing up the laser part, they would just hit shoot laser button, and it would play a pew pew sound effect, and then it would go over to their character sheet. Whoever clicked it, grab their laser pistol skill, add in their dex modifier, and put that all in a roll and pop it out in the chat. So, you might want to put some macros down here for common things like dodging or shooting or melee, things that you roll for all the time that you don't want to keep going back to the character sheet for. Let's see. There's also different card decks you can hide and show. Like it actually comes with the playing cards. Aha, Joker. You can assign the cards to the players. One cool thing that we've done is one of our players has a gamble skill. So when he went to a big casino one time and was trying to show off. So he started gambling. Actually, what they were trying to do is get seed money for their venture, and so he's going to go gamble some up. So he goes to the casino, and we actually played blackjack with these playing cards. And what I did was I let him each time he got dealt a card, he could roll his gambling skill, and if he made it, he got to draw another card and then choose between the two cards and then discard the one he didn't want. So that was kind of a fun little mini game, right? That
crushed it.
Yeah, he made a crap load of money, and was able to seed part of their business venture. So that was kind of cool. Now there's all different kinds of. I have a custom deck in here that the CyborgPrime Games made. It's a deck of ship malfunctions. So if you crash your car. If you crash your ship or sustain damage, you can draw one of these cards, and it kind of gives you a description of what happened there. So there's all different kinds of cards. You can go get them from the Roll20 marketplace. Let's see. I think that's it for the character side. We'll get to this part in a second. Oh, I wanted to show you one more thing. When you have your characters up, you'll notice these little bubbles up here, right? So these represent your damage, and this is strength, dex, and endurance. So if I am in a battle and I take damage here, like -5, now I open up my character sheet. Look, it's -5, and it automatically calculated my new modifier. So now if I roll any new skills, it's going to take that new modifier into account. So there's a way to link the character sheets with the tokens. Also, another cool thing, you see how these guys are lighting up? So if you want to make a dex check, you can just click on here, dex check. And then it should pop up that thing. Don't forget, if the dice don't roll, this input bubble is up somewhere, so just get rid of the any screens on top. So, I rolled a 1, because if you see the explosion there, I rolled a 1 and a 2, and then I have -2 because I took 5 points of damage. So that's a 1. So pretty cool little automations going on there. Now the only thing to consider is there's not a glitch, but when they set up the character sheets, what they should have done, like in Traveller, you have a base level, and then you have like a base value, then you have like another value that goes up and down depending on if you're damaged, right? So let's say everything's 7, you have a dex of 7, then you take damage. Now it's down to 2. Then you get healed by the medic, and so it's back up to 6 or whatever. That's the number that should be tracking, is that number that's going up and down. What they've done here is they just linked in the damage to the character sheet, and that's what's being manipulated. So there's a way to turn on like health bars here, but they don't work with the traveler sheets because that thing isn't hooked up properly here. So if anybody's got motivation to fix that, there's another problem on the character sheet that you should be aware of. Character stats are only allowed to go up to 15, which is the unmodified unaugmented traveler character. If you go above that, notice the mod didn't change. So they've got this on a table instead of a calculation. That's something I've wanted to fix. I have a version of this character sheet that I've been working on, but I got a million things that I'm doing, so that's not a high priority. But this character sheet by itself is a totally workable, totally usable, totally awesome invention, and kudos to the guy who took the time to put this together, because these are all community donated. And by the way, not only does it support Traveller, but it has like so many character sheets that it supports: D&D, Shadowrun, different kinds of indie games, Gumshoe, I think, stuff like that. It's so many. You can get them off their website, or you can also see them when you create a new module. It'll ask you if you want to use a generic character sheet, which is one that you can just make yourself. It's not fancy like the layout that we've seen here with all the graphics and stuff, but it's still doable. So you can even use this for your homebrew. So yeah. Then here in the settings area, this is where you would change your name. That changes this name down here. If you want to have your master music level, if you want to use shortcuts, pop-outs for your characters by default, so you can move them out of the window. This is where you enable your 3D dice and automatically roll 3D dice. So if you've loaded up Roll20, I saw some comments on Facebook. I loaded up Roll20, but I don't get the same feel of dice, or I don't see the dice. Well, the dice aren't on by default, so you have to come over here and turn them on. You can have timestamps for all the chats. Let's see. Automatically sort token actions. Oh, alphabetically sort token actions. Oh, maybe that's why it didn't go sorted by the initiative. And it looks like maybe I have them sorted alphabetically. I'll turn that off and see if that fixes things. Whoops. Look at that alarm going off there. All right. Then you can modify how you use your mouse to scroll and pan. You'll notice also. Oh, shit up, phone. I don't know why my phone's talking to me, because I fumbled it when I turned off yes, power off, please. Okay. So they actually have an audio video chat thing, but the problem is it doesn't work super great. It can be spotty or whatever. Roll20 has their own servers, but if there's a large spike in users, it can really affect the video and audio quality. So we normally use Discord as our sidebar. In fact, that's what we're on right now. If you hear the other players chiming in, that's us on our Discord server. We're over at Traveller RPG HQ, Traveller RPG headquarters, which is the support Discord channel for the Facebook group of the same name. So I invite everybody to come over and join us at Traveller RPG headquarters on Facebook or on Discord. I'll post the Discord link somewhere where people can find it. Probably in the description of this video. Actually, it's in the description of any of the other videos on this YouTube channel, so you can find it in there. But when I post this video afterwards, when we're done with this little Q&A, I'm going to post it up to YouTube, and then I'll, like I say, answer any questions that I haven't already answered, and that's something I'll put in there too. So, if something wonky happens and you're like, hey, I don't see that update, or I don't know what's going on, you can always go back up to your browser and just refresh the page. and whatever kind of glitchy thing was going on should resolve. And see, here's the long chat. Now, when you first start a game, you're going to see this message right here. It kind of gives you a little overview of some of the commands. Type a message and hit enter. That's down here. Or you can also type roll 2d4 plus 5. Or there's a shortcut, just R. 2d6 plus 5. R 10d8 plus 2. All right, so super handy. And if you want to do a private roll to the GM, or if you want to do any kinds of other non-standard dice, it gives you the formula right here. So you can do roll 2d17. Right, it doesn't have a graphic for a 17-sided die, so you won't see 17-sider rolling out there, but it'll still do the shake and roll sound, and then you'll get the results down here. So that's it for the player portion. Let's hop over to the GM portion. Before I do that, does anybody have any questions about anything that they've seen so far in the player portion? And do any of my crew members here have anything they want to add or feel like I skipped? Please chime in. Feel free.
CyborgPrime is the best GM.
Aw, you guys. He's just trying to get extra credits.
Yeah.
I wasn't paid to say that.
Oh, is my mic on?
So
go on.
I was going to say, one of the really neat things is using that measuring tape on the star map so you can see your jump distances.
Oh, yes. Let me, I'll jump over to the GM side here, and I'm going to change the map. Super easy to move your players between maps. You can even move them one at a time. Let me clear those dice. Just click them to get rid of them. So here's the subsector map. There's some things I want to hide.
Well, don't bother hiding it. Keep it in there for us to check out.
No, the stuff that you've discovered on the map that should be made public. No, screw it. I can't mess with it right now. All right, so let me pop back over. Okay. Right, so they're using, you can see the players are using the measurement tool to measure how far they can go. And what it's doing is measuring from where you click. I don't have it set to snap, so we just go by the whole number. So that's a jump 2. That's 2 parsecs. Here's 1 parsec. There's a thing that shows. Just a sec. I need to make a change on something. To the player's view. Okay. So this blue ring, is their jump distance, is their jump range. So let me show you. I have another ship here on the sidebar. I'll have to switch over to the GM side. Okay. Now I have to refresh. I normally use the Firefox browser, which loads things right up. I don't know if for some reason it's not showing the other piece, but there's another ship I placed on the. Oh, I know why, because it's still on the GM map. on the GM side of things, you have different layers you can put things on, and I must have left it on the wrong layer, so I'm just going to move. Yeah, I did. Okay, there it is. Okay, so here's these two ships. The Silver Dagger has a jump range of 1, 2, 3, and the this ship here, Scout ship, has a range of 1, 2. So basically, if the circle crosses over the center point, that system is in range. So that's kind of a cool way of laying things on top of each other and seeing, especially when we're in ship-to-ship combat, you can have these different circles that represent your sensor range or your weapons range or whatever, and it really gives you a visual idea of how things look in relation to the ships. All right, so that's basically it for the player portion. Any other questions before I move on to the GM side? Alrighty then. I'm going to switch over to the GM side, and we're going to go back to. Come on. All right, going back to the ship. All right then. Without further ado, I will show you the GM side. Okay, so this is the GM's view. And the GM can look at a different map than what let me just turn that off. Okay. Let me close that. Okay. Okay. This is what I want. Okay. Stop it. There we go. Okay. Sorry, I have I had the browser set for full screen. I didn't want to bounce around. So this little bookmark thing right here. Now, remember, we are in the GM mode. So the players cannot see this tab. They don't have this tab. If you want to make a new map, you just click here, and then you can place down whatever kind of maps you want. We have a couple of different ships I made. This here's a landing zone on a medieval planet. Here's the subsector map. There's a whole bunch of different. We've got a nebula. We got some other places we've been. So you can keep a crap ton of maps up here, and you can just pop back and forth through them. Now the GM can be this blue outline shows. Come on, this blue outline. Come on, shows where the GM is looking. Okay, so when it's just a ghost, that's the one that you're focused on. But when it has a blue outline like that bold, that's the one you're actually looking at. Now this is where the players are, so you can see the players don't have to be on the same map. I can be prepping stuff on a separate map on the side, and while the players are chatting over here in their ship, and then when they're ready, I just move this little bookmarker thing over to wherever I want them to go, and from their perspective, they will be moved to that new map. So up here under the maps, there's all these different settings. You can set your scale, if there's a grid or not, what kind of the measurement it is compatible with, some other things. There's fog of war. There's dynamic lighting, so your characters can have flashlights or go around in a ship with no lights. For instance, here's a ship that the players were in, where they were fighting some monsters. And now you see, I can see this I'm looking at this from the GM's perspective. But if I select a character, something seems to be slowing down. Oh, that's why I can't, because I'm on the GM layer. All right, so if you do Control, not Control I, Alt I, no, can't remember what it is, but there's a command that lets you see the view from the player's perspective, and you would see a black screen with maybe I'll just flip over to the player's view. It looks like I know why it's not. This was supposed to be a map that's set up for light mapping, but since the characters have already explored the whole thing, I took the light maps off. Sorry about that. But no, it's super cool with the different kinds of lights and things that you can do. I can show you a demonstration. There's should be a snow. Nope. Should be a snow map. That bouncing thing is me. That's not something. That's not a problem with Roll20. It's just that I collapsed the toolbar on the top and I keep bumping it with my mouse. Okay, here's an example. Here the crew. Let me zoom out. All right. So they parked over here, and then they drove down here in the grav car, or their hover car, or whatever, their air car. Zoom it up, and you'll see, I have this set up for headlights. They're shining through this part of the ruins. If I move the car, you're going to see the headlights. See, dynamic lighting. Roll20 is awesome. What do you think of that? So you can set the background to be dark or dim or foggy or whatever, and when they're coming through here, they're hearing snow and wind, and they're making piloting check or driving checks to get here, and their headlights are cutting through the darkness. It's pretty awesome. It's has a lot of different better features than you can have with just plain miniatures. You'll see. Let me go around real fast because some of these tools you already know. You already know about the select and this second one here though is a new tool, and this is how the GM goes back and forth between the different layers. So you have the map layer, and that's going to be the background. Then you have your objects and tokens, which are going to be the things that sit on top. Then you have your GM info overlay, and that is something that only you see, so you can put monsters or traps or mark it up with notes, and the players won't see them unless you transfer those things down to one of the other layers. And then you have the dynamic lighting layer, which lets you see the dynamic lighting. See, that reveals the walls. So you block out where you don't want the light to go, and you leave holes where you want the light to flow through. So that's a super cool thing. The GM info overlay, you would put monsters on this level, and another cool thing is when you're on any of these layers, let's say let's go back to the tokens layer. I can select an object, and if I right click on it, I can change it. I can move it to the GM layer. I can move it to the map layer so the players can't interfere with it. You can also move it to front and back. So maybe you have like a stack of these things and you want to put one on top. Like you always want to have the background, then maybe the air car, and then all the players on the top. But this top and this 2 front and 2 back are within this layer that you have selected over here. All right, so that's the paint tool, which we've already gone over. This is a cool little effects tool. You have all these different things you can add, splatter, or you can make up your own custom effects. So they have some that are already made, like bomb, and we'll make it a fire bomb. And then basically you just explode it on the screen, and the players can see this. So that's super cool. Frost. We'll leave it as bomb, but now we're doing frost instead. So maybe that's like a plasma fire, you know, make it whatever you want. And there's a beam, laser beam maybe, or let's see, fire. Another cool thing that they just added recently is animated tokens. So you might see little blinking lights or little spinny things or traps popping up out of the ground, you know, things like that. So that's pretty cool. Then we have the measurement thing and the zoomer, the measurement tool. This is the fog of war, so I could, if we have fog of war set on, we can reveal areas as the players go through them. When you're using dynamic lighting, that stuff's already all set up, so the characters they reveal fog of war as they progress. I think that's a pro. You have to have Roll20 Pro for that. Your GM has to. All of those enhancements are based on the GM side. So if you want some of the fancier, you can get going on Roll20 totally using the basic set. We used the basic set for a long time, but I'm a Roll20 content creator, and I wanted to have the better levels so I could make things that had dynamic lighting and stuff. So I went in for that. So I hope my players like that stuff. Here's a turn tracker. And then the other tools that you already know. So back here I have GM notes and pretty much all the handouts, the same things that the players see, but then I also have some other extra things that they don't see. I don't want to give too much away because they're on this channel right now. Let's see. Oh, somebody was like, I don't know where to get stuff for my maps. Well, you can, if you're the GM, you can get into this second tab here, which is the different kinds of art and media library. Now, I get to access some of these premium assets because I'm a Roll20 Pro member, but a regular person would be able to use all of these down here. And look at these are some great. It's set up right now mostly for D&D, but there is a ton of stuff out there. There's sci-fi stuff out there too. You can get rugs, tables, whatever you want. You just go right here and you type in what you're looking for. I was looking for tables. Maybe you're looking for a barrel. Just like that, it pops up all different kinds of barrels, and you can just go through here and yeah, no peeking. You can go through here and just drag out a barrel. See, now that barrel needs to be stretched, but we know how to do that. Remember, hold down the Alt key, and then you won't be snapping. So you can just drag it till it looks the size that you want it to be. When you're done, you can let go of that Alt key, and then you can move that barrel to wherever you want it. Well, it snaps, so don't forget, Alt turns the snap off. You can type in like robots. Okay, so there's a fembot, different kinds of top view, side view, dead robot. So there's all different kinds of goodies already made for you, or you can make your own graphics and import them. So a lot of the graphics that I use are ones I've imported myself. Let's see here in the art library. Maybe I don't want robots. So these are all my different things that I made. So here's like a readout of the ship, different kinds of ships. There's the that's something I got off the internet for the air car illustration. I made a bunch of different kinds of furniture so they can outfit their ship, which is kind of cool. Let's see. That ship I showed you before. Everybody decorated their own room. So they were able to. Whoops, not this one. Those guys decorated the room with the blood, right? All right. So this is their lounge. This is their air raft launching room. These red things are the outer airlocks. Yellow doors are inner airlocks. Here's their different rooms. You'll notice this is kind of funny. This guy here. Why is he dressed so funny? Okay, because he's from a low-tech world. So he's got his granny's Afghan, and he has a log to sit on, and he has a wooden table. Meanwhile, this guy over here, in this room, this is Briscoe's room. He's got his data pad, his desk, his bed, a lounge chair, the video screen over here. This is Admiral Crow's room. If you zoom in, we can see he's got a little tray because he likes to drink. He's got a carousing skill. He's got a little place to sit down. This is his humidor. He's got a little love seat. That's his data pad. Everybody's got some plants and stuff. So, yeah, super cool for kind of customizing and making the ship your home. Kind of lets you visualize how big things really are. The scout ship's 30 meters long. For instance, it's got the fuel processors. Here's the intake, the skimmers, intakes. So yeah, there's all these different kinds of things, and you can go here and find maps and portraits or any kind of thing that you want. Let's go back to robots. Okay, it'll just go out on the web and it'll find different kinds of robot things. Some of them are suitable for use as tokens, some are not. So that's why you want to go in here and say, I want tokens. And we just want the robot tokens, and then we're back to this. They have soldiers, they have D&D stuff, they have sci-fi stuff. So there's I think it goes to Dungini and gets the images. Any questions about the media manager before we move on? I'll take that as a possibly. Nope. Okay. We've already seen the journal. All right, here's the jukebox. I have all these different kinds of things. They have a pretty good selection of music and sound effects that Roll20 has access to, that you can get to if you go here to manage audio. You can bring up tracks that you might be looking for, maybe rain. You want it to rain. So you go here to, oops, sorry, I have to retype that, rain. If you already have a sound effect, you can drop it in here and it'll get added to your library. Takes a second. I have no rain in my audio, so I'm going to go here to Tabletop Audio, check for rain there. Okay, they don't have any rain. So you just go down, there's Battle Bards and Compotech. You can just go down the list here and see who's got some cool rain sound effect. And you can listen to them here. And if you like it, you can add it to your... I don't know if you can hear that, yeah. So they got tagged because it has rain tag right there, so that's why I got that up. But some of these other battle bards and stuff you can find under their existing sound effects. And if you like them, you put them over here. You see I have like busy spaceport. And then down here, maybe the Starship Medical when they're in the med bay. You just kind of run that as, well, not so loud, but as ambient background. It really adds a lot to the ambiance. is what we normally have running. It just sounds like the ship sounds. And then I had some other things down here. Powerful wind. This is for when they're on that tundra planet. So you can set these individual track levels. You can set these sounds to start playing as soon as you load the map. Yes, that's a good. Somebody said tabletop audio has all sorts of sounds. That's a great suggestion. You may also be able to find sound effects at like freesoundeffects.com. As long as you're not commercially reselling them, this is just for playback to your players, right? So, so there's that, and then here's the same sort of the macros, and then the control options, which is stuff that you guys have already seen. So there you have it. That's pretty much the complete guide to Traveller on Roll20, and I hope you learned something. With regard to COVID and stuff, we're gonna have to stay apart from each other, and this is a way to kind of still connect. You get on Discord. You either make your own channel. You're free to come use any of the channels over at Traveller RPG HQ. Or to set up your own server so you have your own private channel. They're free, and invite your friends in there. Then you have a place where you can chat and post things and share images and things like that, and you don't have to rely on the audio video conferencing that's built into Roll20, which I found out was mostly spotty because it doesn't work in all browsers equally. Some browsers work better than others. So if there's any other questions, feel free to post them down there in the chat. We'll hang out for another couple minutes and just talk about what we like about Traveller or whatever, or I'll answer any questions that I didn't cover. So yeah. The thing I like about it is, from a GM's perspective, it really just keeps everything organized, and I can write the stories ahead of time. I'll copy and paste them over into like my GM's journal. I have a little outline of how I want the adventure to go tonight. If things go off course, which they usually do, I can take notes. I have ideas for next time. Since the characters have mostly gone through, and let me see. Players. I know Crow. Look at Crow's character sheet. I can go back here and tap this information for ideas of future adventures. Oh, he was born here, and his parents made him go to college. Well, maybe his parents are showing up again and gonna embarrass him or something, So you can go through these backstories and help you come up with adventure seeds. What else? The GM can make secret notes. So here, shh, he doesn't know I have this note. He drowned the corrupt sheriff. So I made a note of it here. Now the character doesn't get to see, the player doesn't see that note unless they're tuning into a YouTube Q&A. So anyway, you can kind of keep track of stuff like that. And the players have a running journal, so everything. Dr. Gomos is their chronicler, the historian, if you will, and he keeps excellent notes. And every time we play, he reads back last week's notes, and everybody's caught up again. So it's just super awesome. Gomos, do you keep those notes in Roll20 in a log, or are those like personal handwritten notes?
Use Roll20. It's the character journals. Our wonderful GM was kind enough to create tabs for us. And every now and again, just to keep things organized, he'll give us another journal entry to work with. What's that under? Player logs.
Player logs.
Under handouts.
Okay.
And now we're up to chapter 7. And the ledger's in there too. Player journal, ship's inventory, all that kind of stuff.
Right. I'm bringing that up so they can see it. So here's all the different chapters. If they need another one, I pop that. I make a fresh one for them. So they're in chapter 8 now. I haven't put one up yet, so they're probably going to want another one. So I make it chapter 8, give it the heading, and then it's blank, and then they can fill it out. And if they want to go back and go, well, when did we meet the crime boss, or when did we defeat the bad guy, or whatever, they can go back through their notes. So it's pretty cool. They've done a really good job of bringing over all the stuff that you do with your character sheets and stuff like that. Now, you don't have to use the character sheets. You can just use the maps and keep your character sheets on paper. You can even use this to play locally and just use it as a battle mat. And then everybody could take turns moving their piece with the mouse, with a shared mouse, or if you have a tablet, everybody has their own tablet. You can bring this up. It's super cool. I mean, it's something like we always used to talk about. Imagine someday when we'll be able to, everybody has their own terminal and they'll have a shared space, kind of like and now here it really is. The colored dots, these colored dots are an indicator of who can see that entry. Blue means all the characters can. Like I can go in here, and if I want to call attention to this sheet, I click show to players, and it pops up on everybody's screen. So I go they go, oh, I want to fire a drone into the nebula. So I come over here and I bring up the drone, and then I click show to players, and then all the players now have this came up front and center on their screens. And now we can all talk about it together. Now, when I'm scrolling it, it's not scrolling for them. They have their own copy of it that they're looking at. But if I make any changes, they'll see the changes. And then if you want to show it to more than one person, you can go into the edit here, and then you can say whose journal it belongs in, because maybe it's just this piece of equipment that only one person knows about. Maybe they have a secret, I don't know, device of the ancients, and no one else needs to know about it. So you just go in here and you click, I want Ian to have this, and no other player. And so now when I leave here, you'll see custom drone turned from blue to that cyan or whatever color, magenta, sorry, that magenta color, and that indicates this color here. See, they're color matching with the color chips of the players. So these light blue ones are all ones that are shared by all the players. Some of these can only be seen, by certain players. So that's what the dots are. Oh, and then another thing, you can go into this little button here, and then you have all these like little icons that you can put next to the character, like, oh, you get too much radiation damage. Now Murphy's tagged with radiation wherever he goes. If you want to take that off, maybe he goes and visits the doctor, so you just come back in here and then you just toggle it off. And you can have multiple things, he got radiation damage, but it made him stronger. So yeah. Oh, he's dead. So you can get in there and put these multiple effects on the characters. It's kind of cool. They also have different kinds of new markers that they've added that you can download and replace these icons with. This is just the set that comes with Roll20. Here's their give you a view in their cargo bay. Here's where they keep their still and their barrels of booze. Here's the ladder up to the other level. What else? I think I pretty much covered everything. But again, if you came in late, or you just want me to reiterate or clarify on something, or if you have gotten stuck in your, I saw some people were like, I drew some things and I don't know how to erase them. Just select them and then press the delete key. You can stretch and turn and move and all that stuff. So looks like we're coming up on an hour and 40 minutes, and I think we're going to wrap up here. So yeah, if anybody has any questions, feel free to contact me. My email address is admin@cyborgprime.com. You can also reach me through the contact form on cyborgprime.com. And I'm also around on Facebook a lot. You can just look me up on Facebook under Cyborg Prime, and you can find me hanging out all day long in the Traveller RPG headquarters Facebook group. And you're welcome to join us. And if that's it, I will thank you all for coming, and I will thank my panel. Thank you, Ian and Will and Hex, and everyone else who joined us tonight and made this possible. So until next time, friends, wash your hands, practice social distancing, and enjoy Roll20. See ya.